Now every day we come down a shop and pick up the projects from the day before. I want to see how that dried up. And that, I think, is an absolutely perfect repair. And it worked perfectly. So I think we can pull the back masking off that and see what else has to be repaired here. Now unfortunately, Steve has gone to Texas. And when I looked this morning at his decals, it looks like one is peeling up, and I don't know if I can resolve that, but I can put another decal on, of course. And I was looking at his Kawasaki ones, and this one looks like it's peeling up a little bit at the edge, and I don't know if I'm going to have to think about how I want to resolve that, since there's no rush, and since Steve is in Texas, that's going to make that an easy decision. I don't think he'll be coming up here from wherever he is to fix a decal, but we'll work on that later. But what I do have is an absolute major thing of information that's worthwhile passing on. Now, a lot of people that have seen my bike, other bikes, that look what they think is a nice paint job, a lot of people don't realize how much time goes into doing little touch-ups, little repairs, little things that, I'll just give you an example. There's a little spot right there. Before we actually put the clear on, we will do like a microscope job on that. Because once you put the clear on, you're pretty much married to it. And you know what a bad marriage is like. So I think the first thing I'll do is pull that back masking off and see if there's any other areas I want to touch up. And then I'll just go from part to part to part and pick away at this. Now some of these look like, well, there's no tape on that, but the back here has some little spots I'm not happy with. I could touch that up. And maybe it's raining out there today, and it's raining pretty good, so I can do a little bit of this airbrushing right here in the cellar. And whenever I'm doing these kind of touch-ups, the answer with these touch-ups is to always use the airbrush. It just makes it so much easier and so much more convenient. I, for one, I always, at this point in the job, and I have learned this lesson over and over and over again, is you got to fix any little thing that you're not happy with before you put the clear on. Yes, you can still put little touch-ups over the clear, but then they're not buried down in the clear, so it makes it, well, just not quite as good in my opinion anyway. So this little repair that I showed on a previous video, I would say that's perfect. And that's hopefully going to be useful information you can use. You got a little repair on that seat, I know. And sometimes, I've said this over and over again, sometimes I watch somebody else's video and I'll watch a half hour or whatever amount of video and I only pick up one tip, but I use that tip over and over and over and over, so it really pays. So that's my motivation, is to pass some of this information on. This, to be honest, what we're doing, restoring things, I don't think a lot of young people really have the passion or the interest or the energy level it takes to do this, but for the people that still do, and I know there are still people within my circle of friends, both modelers and motorcyclists, that have a passion for excellence in paintwork. And so as long as there's two of us around, it'll be worth passing that information on. And I thank everybody that has passed the information on to me. That list is endless. Now again, this is not a great macro lens, but you can see there's a little spot there where we need a little drop of white paint. I can do that with a brush. But basically, one of the things I got from this whole project, airbrushing in the black. These lines are way thinner than I'm used to dealing with. And so what will happen is these paint edges will bury in the clear very quick. These are even better than what I'm used to, but we can still bury it in clear. But this way they're really buried. That overall flow of the paint should really be spectacular. So when I see a day like this that's supposed to rain all day, maybe even for the next 2 days, it helps me with my patience of working downstairs. Now obviously we will not be doing any real painting today, but I can be doing, I basically have a whole day to do touch-ups. And if I have a little extra time, to lay out some of the decaling that I want to do when I do get together with John. So I thought I'd mention a couple of things about now. This is a very tiny touch-up. This is not the kind of brush you would buy in a kiddie's water paint set or anything. These are real artist brushes. Obviously, they're a couple of dollars more than the other ones. But the good news is one will last forever. And they never wear out. And so once you invest in a couple of really nice fine tip brushes, you're pretty much done. Okay, so this allows me, and this will get buried in a clear almost instantly. You'll never see this. Even when you're looking for it, when I'm here under fluorescent lights, and I'm working under fluorescent lights, and I don't see it, you're not going to see it at the market meetup, that's for sure. So, I look around. I always do this one piece at a time. And I look around because I'm really fussy, because there's sometimes you look at it 10 times and then the last time, I didn't see that. See, now as I say that, I see a little spot up here. These are little tiny things. I don't think a lot of people really care, but I care. Here's one down here. And the nice thing about this modern automotive paint, once you put the clear on, it just blends in and you'll never see it. The old model airplane paint was a little more difficult to deal with. But this, if you could paint model planes with this paint, oh my God, it would be so easy. But so this now, I think, I'm looking around. I don't have any more touch-ups to do on this part. I can put this part aside and it's ready to start laying out decals. So we got both of the fairing sides ready for the decaling process. And I needed to have these parts because I need to lay out, it's going to be a lot of little decisions to make there, and the seat also. But on this seat, and I guess that's the next thing I'll do, the back of it has a couple little flaws that the choices would be I could bury it in clear and hope it goes away, but I'd rather not, really just sand this down, airbrush it in with a little black, and I know on the bottom there's a little touch-up to do. So, and because we have a rainy day and we want things perfect, it makes it an easy decision. This is the kind of thing a lot of people wouldn't do anything here. To be fair about this, I don't even know if this is worth doing, but because I have the time and I'm getting fussier by the minute here with this stuff. If I have another rainy day, I'll get even fussier. But yeah, there are a couple little spots I can, it's usually the corners, and they usually require very little work. But this area here, I want to back mask from here down around and just sand it with 600 and then airbrush it. And I can, actually I can show that because we're going to work in the back room today. Usually pretty difficult to get these edges nice. This is a spot you really can't get my finger down the way I want to. But the good thing with tape, you can just keep taking it up, heating it until you get it right. I want it down in that valley more than anything else. And we can end it conveniently right here, so that'll be nice. Yeah, it's just, I see it's a little rough, but you know what? I want this to be as good as I can make it. All right, so what I have is some Rhino Wet, our favorite paper, Rhino Wet 600. And I'm not sure how these little imperfections got in there. It looks like they might be dust that we picked up from painting this. But small thing, that's for sure. But once it's flat sanded with 600, actually it'll be a lot better. And the less things you have to bury in clear, of course, the better it is. Just makes it easier, better. And I can paint in that back room as long as it's an airbrush. I can't really realistically spray anything back there, but an airbrush is so handy to use. Now what I want to make sure is that I have this, yeah, up there it's still a little. And believe me, I'm being as fussy as I can be. Now that thing with brushes, an interesting thing is because Karen goes to art lessons, there's always a lot of really high quality art brushes laying around that she's used and maybe she's moved on. And I take all the little pointy ones and keep them for doing this kind of work, but you can buy just one brush. and they do last forever, and that is a good tip. All right, I want to make sure all the masking tape is down there. Now, thanks to our trusty IWATA airbrush, we're able to get some touch-ups done on a really rainy, crappy day, of which in the winter we seem to have plenty of them. Now, on the back of this, of course, I've done this already, but as I do it the second time, I see some spots, and that's why I like to do it over and over. I don't want to do it on the day that I start doing this. I want to do it the next day. I can see a little spot here. And agreed, these are tiny spots, but... And sometimes you have to do them over and over a few times before I'm satisfied anyway. But I think in the end result, it's that thing of you can laugh all you want. And that's why this kind of work is very time consuming, and it takes a lot of time, but boy, you can just, in your mind, you can see it the day you have it all buffed out and you're out there, you hit the starter button and you look down and it looks perfect. So while that airbrush work is drying, I wanted to look at Steve's decal here, and you see it's kind of come up, it's come off. But I wanted to try something. I have a product here called Salvaset. I don't know if that's going to be of any value. Now, the product I used in the past when I built my model railroad and had metal trains for many, many years. This is used by all of the people that sell model train supplies. Salvaset, this is called Microsol. I think it's the same. It even smells the same. It's used for installing decals. That's what it's the purpose of it. Now, what John found out many years ago when we were doing decals every year for the model planes and for the motorcycles, of course, we found out that there's a lot of different companies make decal material. And now with these printers, it's a whole different ball game. This is supposed to soften up the decal and let it go around corners. Well, we're going to find out. We're going to see. See, I want this to be sticking down tomorrow morning when I come down here, because I don't want to put clear over it and have to sand this all back down. And this looks like it's doing what it's supposed to do. Anyway, in the world of model trains, especially in HO, you're always using decals. We're in scale model railroading. Anyway, we're going to put this, I'm going to do this to the Kawasaki one too. And if it doesn't work, Steve did leave a couple extra of these decals here. Well, let's just see if it's our lucky day when this all dries up. Yeah, this smells the same. So we'll see if this worked. Now, if it was a paintable day out there, and it's definitely not, and it's not going to be tomorrow, I don't think either. Yeah, that looks like it made it lay down. I want to get rid of any air bubbles that are there. Now, the whole advantage of doing decals is they bury in the clear a lot nicer than stickers. And with modern computers and printers, you can pretty much do what you want. But anyway, or you can just use the vinyl, and then they're at 1/4 of an inch thick, and then... And this one doesn't look as bad as the other one, but it's still peeling up on the corners. And we'll see if this, well, we're going to find out. I'll do the other one too, just to make sure. This is supposed to soften decals, and again, all of these things are, I'll believe it when I see it. Now, one thing it makes it look like, and we'll find out, if it stays more clear. This decal paper that Steve got was not really clear. It's semi-clear. And I was hoping, well, John has been communicating with the decal people and getting, I think, the best decals we've ever had with the last couple. So I'm going to see if this is any better. We're going to find out. It definitely softens and lets this decal walk a little bit. I'll get out all the air bubbles. Again, you can always just go buy the stickers, and some of those stickers are expensive too. I've paid up to $40 for stickers that I didn't even use. Okay, but again, that's the product, Microsol. We'll give that a test. Come back to that tomorrow. Now, one thing I think for sure, but I really can't tell, it makes the decal, and this was kind of not perfectly clear. It looks like that might be better. Yeah, I can't tell under this lighting. Let me shut that light off. I'm not sure if that's an upgrade or not, but I guess we're going to find out. Again, we'll come back to this tomorrow. If that decal laid down nice and it's paintable, we'll throw a little clear on it. So going back to the concept sketch, this is a very difficult decision for me to make. Is what do you really want your custom bike to look like? Is it supposed to look like a race bike? A custom bike? Now, to be honest, I've been at the Javits Center show and seen some custom airbrushed Hayabusas that I really liked. Except they should have used canvas because it was just artwork. Well, I don't want a piece of artwork. I want a bike that looks like Yamaha might have made it. And maybe what they did is they just forgot and put a 70s or an 80s paint job on a 90s bike, kind of. I always like when people look at a bike that I've done work on and they say, is that a Ferrari? Is that they can't figure it. It's not obvious right away. I have had a lot of people ask me about the RD. Is that a stock paint job? Well, not really. But it looks like something Yamaha might have made. When I did the two original, and we had a match set of these, the late Frank Straub and I had a match set of Suzuki's 1000cc bikes. They didn't have West Cooley bikes coming into the country yet, so I made two of them. And I'm glad I have these pictures because that's all I have from that era. Now, of course, Steve had his concept sketch, and you can't spend too much time doing a concept sketch. Just look at any of the car shows, they always do a concept sketch. Now, for anybody that's never been to my shop, here's an introduction. This is my bathroom. But anyway, the purpose is I have this hanging up, and both Chris and Glenn spent time on the internet getting this magazine for me, and I appreciate it, of course. But here's the greatest thing of all, is I look at this, it's a little window into time. And see, the paint jobs, I did all the paint back then. For everybody I knew, there were only 2 or 3 people doing custom painting. And this, I tried to make it look like something that at the time, it's like bell-bottom pants or, you know, Cheech and Chong or whatever. It was in style at the time. But I get a good laugh looking at it now and thinking, what was I thinking? You know, and even though it was on a cover of, it was actually on a cover of 3 magazines, what it tells you, everybody's taste is different. And taste can change from year to year, time to time, day to day, but it's always a little snapshot of time. So I think here it is in 1918, and I wanted to make this look like a bike that maybe Yamaha actually built, and that people would kind of question, did they really make that? That was kind of the idea. But you know what? In the end, I know this is 1918, probably 10 years from now, if I'm still alive, I'm going to look back at this like bell-bottom pants. And a perfect example of that, here's the original 750. Look at that hairdo. Look at that hairdo. Oh my God. Bell-bottom pants. That's a 750 Suzuki Water Buffalo. So in keeping with that theme, I wanted to lay out the stickers. In other words, there's certain things I always have on the gas tank the standard shift decal. So if I ever want to do a track day, and maybe I got one track day left, I don't know. I always thought that makes it look a lot nicer than a big piece of blue tape with standard shift. That's a must. And you don't really see it. It'll be covered by the radar detector anyway. But the second thing, interesting, Luciano gave me some of these stickers that I can use for patterns, except I think they're too big. These are just on the big side. But that's going to allow me to make smaller and smaller until I get what I think is going to be the proportion that I'm looking for. So the first thing is to get out my box of decals from previous restorations and see if I have anything close so I can get my dimensions right. I'm sure everybody will be impressed by the fact I took an evening and sorted out all my decals. So it says Kawasaki decals, Yamaha. We're doing a Yamaha. And then I have a miscellaneous one of all kind of stuff that MV Agusta and miscellaneous stuff. So we'll be looking at them. But because we've done this a lot of times, I know what some of the pitfalls are, and that's the idea, is to pass that information on to you. The first pitfall that I can remember that really made me unhappy was the first time I did this, I took every one of the decals, and when I laid them out and sent the dimensions to John, they were all, in my opinion, too big. I should have downsized them by about 10–15%. Because I remember they looked so good when they were like this, and after I had the clear on and had it outside and looked at it, and I said, oh my God, it's the wrong dimension. But anyway, these I'm not going to use because they're really stickers. These Luciano donated. But what I wanted to see for my own reference, because it says Yamaha, and I can see already I'm falling into the same trap. It's just too big. I want to have it maybe a 1/4 inch smaller and maybe a 1/2 inch shorter. So to do that, and the way I'm going to do that is the way I do all of these things. It's called interpolation. Make one that's too big and make one that's too small until you have one. Let me just open this up and see what I got in here. Oh, look at this. I have all different size Yamahas. But I know, now I'm just looking at this. This one is the same, actually it's longer, so it's not in proportion. It's Gumbyized. So, but if I look at this, and I can see that it's too long, but it's already, if you look at it side by side, you can see what the issue is. The aspect ratio, the letters are too short. This is a real Yamaha logo, so we want to really make it as close as possible. So what I really want to do is have this aspect ratio on this letter, and it'll look, I just want to, in essence, put that into the computer and say, knock it down a 1/4 inch and knock it in a 1/2 inch. And I think I'll have that one of them done. Now, from other restorations, we have this. What I like is the Urtanowski standard shift. That's required at all the track days, and I wanted it to be on one on each side so it would be balanced. I don't want it going across the stripe. It artistically takes away from the stripe if I put anything in the stripe. So if I put one on each side, now I only have one, but John already has this in the computer, so this is going to be a piece of cake. Bingo, and we've got 2 down. Now, what I'll do is before I will make a very detailed list of the dimensions, the sizes, and what has to be done. And then when I get on a computer with John, and we'll be on for, I'm sure, a long afternoon, getting these just right, it's something that I'll be real happy with, because in the end, if I put it on and it doesn't look right for whatever reason, we can go back to the computer and just make up another decal. Now, I was hoping to get some Yamaha ones for the side fairings too, but again, I haven't made a real decision on that. I'm not going to decide today. I'm going to make up my chart of all the decals that we want to make, and in the next day or so get with John. Now on the fairing, and since we've already had these, I have these in 2 sizes. This one is a little bit on the big side. So I know, well, that ain't, I know my tendency is always to make the decals too big for whatever reason. These look like the right size, and they look like the ones that actually were on here. And of course we always make spares, so we might not even need any of these unless we change the font. And one of the things we could do is actually move the letters apart just a little bit. But again, this is the only decaling, at least right now, is going to go one on each side. And this is a little, I don't know, payback. I always think somebody that used to be part of AMAR, and this was a club racing club from the 70s and 80s, that they would say, oh, I remember you. You were the guy that, yeah, you had no talent at all in it. And I'd have to say, yep, that's me. And this is one of the parts that's going to have a custom decal that's going to be on the back of this, but I don't know exactly what size, what shape, what lettering. I haven't designed that yet, so I don't have a way of, I'm going to have to do it with an ink marker and some paper until I come up with the size I need to have. Now I just inked this up. What John and I are going to do, in fact, that, yeah, maybe I should take a picture of it. I like the way, and Turbo Steve agreed that the back came out, but I want to get this logo, and it's very important. I get it not too big, not too small, and this is going to be a custom, one of the custom ones we work on. And I'm going to spend the rest of the night here off camera, just having this. Now see here's what I did to try to look at this. I tried to decide, and of course I haven't decided yet. Do I want it? So I can just, little pieces of tape on the back. Do I want it there? Some of the bikes, and I've looked at so many bikes online to get ideas. Some of the factory bikes even have it way up in the front, on an angle, or straight. And I don't know. But again, I'll try to shoot some video when John and I are on the computer working on this. I don't know if that's going to be possible or practical, but anyway, we did make some progress today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we're going to keep working on this. These decals, it's not a one-day job. So anyway, thanks for watching. See that sweatshirt? Star Wars.
Didn't you get it?
Was that? No. Maybe I did. I don't know.
How are those cookies, Miles?
Good.
Are you going to share them with me?
No.
That's the grandson we all know and love.